Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming out to the Parent Council meeting. Today, we have a presentation on self-esteem and body image by our own Dr. Bocella Paris, school psychologist at the junior high school. If there are any questions, if you're on Zoom, you can use the Q&A button. And at the end of the presentation, I will present some questions to Dr. Kate Bocella Paris. With that, I'll let you take it away.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm going to share the PowerPoint I created for tonight. Okay. So I'm Kate Bocella Paris, and tonight we are going to talk about self-esteem and then a little blurb on body image towards the end there. I'm a doctoral level school psychologist. I work through junior high school, and I've been working at Abington School District for 6 years now. My doctoral program had a big emphasis on cognitive behavioral therapy, and you're going to see some of those ideas throughout the presentation tonight. Our agenda, we're just going to go through self-esteem, components of self-esteem, and tools to build self-esteem, then body image, and strategies to build a positive body image. All right, so self-esteem. What is esteem? It is value. Self-esteem is how much or how little one values themselves. Dr. Brandon quoted self-esteem as feeling competent to cope with the basic challenges of life and feeling worthy of happiness. So children with healthy self-esteem tend to feel proud of what they can do. They see the good things about themselves. They believe in themselves even when they don't do well at first. They feel liked and accepted. They accept themselves even when they make mistakes, and they adhere to their values. Children with unhealthy self-esteem tend to not think they are as good as others. They do not feel liked or accepted. They think more about the times they fail than the times they do well. They don't notice the good things about themselves, and they're hard on themselves and give up easily. Where does low self-esteem stem from? It's a cycle. It starts with negative or unresolved past experiences that lead to negative emotions. These past experiences create negative beliefs about the world and painful emotions, anxiety, shame, sadness. So when we engage in those experiences again, those emotions are triggered. These painful emotions can lead to unhealthy coping mechanisms, avoidance, emotional numbness, attacking yourself, or attacking others. When we engage in these unhealthy coping mechanisms, we find more negative experiences, and the cycle of low self-esteem continues. So if my child makes more friends or gets better grades, won't that improve self-esteem? That is not always the case. There are many very successful people that have lower self-esteem, not tied to external goals or achievements. Healthy self-esteem is internal. It's your mindset, your set of beliefs that shape how you make sense of the world and yourself. And it's crucial to help your child develop healthy thinking patterns to ensure that their mindset is positive and that their mindset is increasing their self-esteem. So tonight, we're going to go through various tools to build self-esteem. As someone who's been a student for a very long time, I find it more important to walk away knowing how to help and how to apply a skill rather than going into the technicalities of it. So we're going to really focus on tools to build self-esteem tonight, to discussions and different ways you can engage with your child to help them get out of that cycle of low self-esteem. So the first step I identified as helpful to help your child with their self-esteem, how they value themselves, their self-worth and acceptance, is ask them, how is your self-esteem? Where do you fall on a scale? Well, the Rosenberg Self-Esteem Survey is an actual scale survey that they can take and identify where their self-esteem falls. If it's significantly low, that's something you may want to talk about with a therapist and get some more help. These tools will help, mild to moderately low self-esteem. Some students may have very high self-esteem, maybe overly high self-esteem, which also may need some discussions at home to ensure that, they're engaging in identifying their own strengths and weaknesses and working on themselves. But overall, it's a collaborative process. You need your child to be aware of their level of self-esteem and be ready to engage with you to work on it. And work together to ensure that, these tools really do help them. They need to be on board as well. So identifying troubling situations is a crucial start to helping with low self-esteem. It's important to start breaking that cycle by identifying the environmental triggers that cause that self-esteem to be lowered in the first place. So sit down with your child, identify environmental factors. For children, many times it's prior bad academic or social situations. Have them identify these situations that make them feel bad and, write them down. Identify all of their triggering events. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So boosting self-esteem through evaluating your thoughts. So how we think is everything. In CBT, cognitive behavior therapy, a core component is identifying your thoughts, because it's believed that thoughts determine how we feel and ultimately how we behave. So it is critical to learn how to examine one's thoughts and to challenge these automatic negative thoughts. One's thinking can play a major role in developing low self-esteem and mental health problems. So I'm going to give you a classic example of how this plays out. A child is walking down the hallway. A student bumps into them. Their immediate thought is, that was on purpose. If you feel that, if your thought is that is on purpose, you feel angry, maybe a victim of something, of some mean behavior, and ultimately you may engage in retaliation. You may engage in feeling upset and that you're unloved. And the behavior may not be as healthy. Whereas a student's walking down the hallway, they're bumped, and they immediately feel startled. What's going on? They look around, it's crowded, and they're late for class. And they notice everyone else is kind of scurrying around and late for class too. So the feeling may be neutral. Oh, they bumped me because we're in a crowded hall. And the behavior will be hopefully to scurry off to class as well. So taking that moment to really see the evidence that, helps determine if our thoughts are accurate or not is crucial to determine how we feel and then ultimately behave. Thinking traps. So these are patterns of thought, usually negative, which prevent us from seeing things as they really are. People with low self-esteem are usually stuck in a thinking trap. It's when our mind convinces us of one thing when in reality it may not be true. They're inaccurate thoughts and they reinforce negative thinking. So it's really important that we review common thinking traps, because the best way to get out of thinking traps is merely just to be aware of them and be aware of when you're using one, when your child's using one. So I'm going to go over 3 common thinking traps I see a good amount of the time from students that I work with at the junior high school. So black and white thinking. Black and white thinking is thinking in extremes. Keywords for black and white thinking are always or never. Things are either all good or all bad. So for example, friend is mad at me, nobody loves me. I'm going to either ace the performance or completely fail it. I'm bad at math. Why is it unhelpful? Because it does not allow us to see all possible outcomes or the in-between, the gray area. Most of life is somewhere in the middle and not at extremes. Mind reading and jumping to conclusions. So this is assuming what others are thinking, expecting others to know what you are thinking, assuming what the future holds, and they're usually negative assumptions. So I couldn't get a job last year, so I won't get one this year. No one is going to talk to me at the party. But in reality, you can't know there will be a negative outcome because you can't read minds and you don't have a crystal ball. So it is unhelpful to always assume the worst. And should statements. Should statements are very common for students with perfectionistic tendencies. They're very rigid ways of thinking. Using the word should is a red flag. Their unbending expectations may lead to strong emotions that actually distract us from doing our best. I should be better than this. I should make the basketball team. I should have more friends. It puts an unreasonable demand and pressure on the self, which makes us feel shame or like we failed. And simply changing the word should releases some of that pressure. So, for example, I should be better than this. I want to be better than this. It gives us room to grow. So, how to escape thinking traps? Thought logs are kind of one of the CBT tools you'll see very commonly used in therapy or even in counseling sessions. They're great. You could sit down with your child and really just help figure out what their negative thoughts are, make them visible to your child, and help identify problems with their thinking. So an example here is this is a simple cognitive behavior therapy thought log. I have a list of resources for tonight. I have more advanced thought logs that kind of look at the evidence for and against the thought. But this is a nice, easy one to start using. So the triggering event or situation, I failed my math test. The strong emotion that follows, I feel upset. Thought, I'll never get into college. Okay, well, that's jumping to conclusions. So let's reframe that thought. Let's make it neutral. And when you get really good at this, maybe we can even make it encouraging. But for now, a neutral thought, everyone makes mistakes. It's okay. In the future, maybe I made a mistake and I can go to my teacher for corrections and pass my next test. This could be a learning situation, looking for the silver lining. But it's great to verbalize these thoughts and work through the thoughts and the emotions with your child so that they can reframe. Because when trying to boost in self-esteem, the thought process is everything. And if the thoughts are constantly negative, your child is going to be stuck in this cycle of negative thinking. So it's crucial to really break that cycle with working through these thoughts. Another simple one, once you teach your child about thinking traps, have a thought stopping visual. Put an actual stop sign on the fridge or in their bathroom mirror. Whenever you hear a negative statement, point to the stop sign. Have them draw a stop sign, get creative. Put the stop sign in their backpack. Whatever it is you think could help them stop their negative thinking and replace it with a neutral thought. Replace it with an encouraging thought. But get into the habit of being aware of your negative thinking and stopping it in its tracks. It's also helpful to ask your child key questions to help them get unstuck and to help them stop their negative thinking. These are some helpful starter questions. What's the worst that could happen? What would I tell others in this situation? What else could be true other than what I'm thinking? Is this thought accurate? What evidence supports this thought? These questions help your child gain perspective and to look at all of the evidence in their environment and ensure that their thought is accurate and that their thought is helpful. And then I have students, when I teach them this like CBT model, they ask me, well, what if my thought's real? And, that's okay. Then we can do structured problem solving. If you've identified evidence that says, you really did fail your math test. Let's identify the problem. You failed your math test. Then develop at least 5 possible solutions. And this is just a structured problem solving model, but I highly suggest it. It's collaborative. It can help get your student on board in developing solutions to their problems. And it's a more productive and helpful way to combat negative thinking and to actually give them solutions to lead to more positive behaviors and build their self-esteem. And it can be fun. In the brainstorm process, no idea is bad. So you can be goofy with it and have fun with them. And then eventually have them identify a solution that works, test it out, and always prepare them that, maybe this will not work out. And that's okay. We're gonna go back to step 1 and identify the problem and do it all over again. It's an ongoing process. All right, positive affirmations. So we're going to switch from the thought logs and thought examinations to positive affirmations. So if self-esteem is like water in a styrofoam cup, negative thoughts poke holes in your cup, affirmations help repair the holes. It is recommended to have 5 positive statements to every negative one. Positive affirmations are short, simple statements. They convey a positive or encouraging message. They're present tense. So examples, I love myself. I believe in myself. I accept my imperfect self. I know I'm worthy. I'm unique and wonderful. It's good to have these statements focused on the self. So saying I am the best kind of is a comparison to others. We want to just focus on good values that we want for ourselves. We want to feel loved. In the resource guide for tonight, I also included some apps that generate positive affirmations. If your child's having a hard time even identifying that positive affirmation like I love myself, you can change it to I am learning to love myself. Anything to replace those negative thoughts is encouraged. Child should have a list of at least 10 positive affirmations in their backpack, on their mirror, in their bedroom, wherever they go. Stop the negative thinking and replace it with the positive affirmations. You don't need to believe in it. You can fake it till you make it, but it's important that they're there. Okay. So now we're going to move to emotional intelligence. Part of self-esteem is being in touch with your emotions. Your emotions dictate when there is a need that you need to fulfill. They are telling you something. If we numb our emotions, avoid them, we are going to engage in more maladaptive behaviors or not truly be true to ourselves and identify, what we really want. So it's important to sit down with your child and have definitions of the following emotions. You can have them draw them, describe them, just have discussions about them, have stories in movies, identify them. Why does that person feel grief? Why does that person feel insecure? But normalize them. Humans have a range of emotions. Some are good and some are bad. But it's really important that you have these direct instructional conversations with your child and say it's okay to sometimes feel jealous. It's okay to feel happy. It's okay to feel sad. This is part of the human experience. And if you're feeling very emotional, let's work on that and let's process it. But it's really important that your child can identify when they're feeling each of these emotions so that they can accurately meet their needs. All right, and processing shame versus guilt. So low self-esteem is propelled by chronic shame, feelings like you're embarrassed, feeling insecure, inadequate, having self-doubt, being self-critical. So to build self-esteem, it is important to process feelings of shame. And when you're feeling shame, first when you're feeling guilt. Shame is different from guilt. Guilt is when one feels regret for a perceived offense. Guilt eases as soon as we make amends or take accountability for our actions. So as Brene Brown said, the difference between shame and guilt is the difference between I am bad and I did something bad. It separates the person from the behavior. You are a good person, you are a worthy, lovable person who made a bad behavioral decision. So we are going to make amends and take accountability for our actions, but you continue to be a good person. So it is very important to distinguish those two, shame versus guilt for your child so that they can learn to make amends for behaviors versus carrying shame with them and feeling bad about who they are based on poor decisions they made in the past. All right, healthy coping mechanisms. So part of self-esteem is managing your emotions well so that you can continue to engage in activities that bring you happiness and joy and build confidence. And healthy coping mechanisms are key to ensuring that your child continues to engage in sometimes anxiety-provoking demands. They are the tools you use to manage stress and big emotions. So these activities and exercises can help you manage your big emotions so that you can continue to be engaged and continue to create good experiences. Unhealthy coping mechanisms we talked about earlier briefly: avoidance, emotional numbness, attacking self and attacking others. So avoidance, that looks like just completely avoiding the anxiety provoking situation altogether. That's a really easy way to not have to deal with your emotions anymore. So yes, you're healing your big emotions, but you're avoiding experiences that can lead to really great confidence building, friendships and other wonderful, outcomes from engaging in difficult experiences that you may avoid. So although avoidance is easy, it's not always the right answer. Emotional numbness is just withdrawing from your emotions, kind of denial, shutting down. Attacking self is substance abuse, self-harm, suicidal ideation. If your child is experiencing any of those things, it's good to talk about it with them. It's always better to ask rather than to suspect. And if they do mention any of those concerns, immediately, reach out for help from either, your school counselors or a therapist or Montgomery County Mobile Crisis. And I do have a list of resources that will be provided to you that, have people you can contact if that's the case. And attacking others, people with unhealthy coping mechanisms tend to, bully others, put others down, make themselves feel better, that kind of thing. So all of these unhealthy coping mechanisms lead to negative experiences and fulfillment of these bad beliefs about themselves and the world. So healthy coping mechanisms may seem unimportant or just little things you do when you have free time or they're just for fun, but they're actually crucial to developing your child's self-esteem and having them engage in experiences that may be anxiety provoking. So your child should have at least 5 to 10 coping skills that they can name that are effective for them. I listed a few here, so if they don't have 5 to 10, you can help them, develop a few more. But I'll review a few of them that are, which is a component of self-esteem, but it's how you perceive and think about your physical self. So body image is closely linked to self-esteem. Self-esteem is how you value yourself, and body image is specifically how you value your physical self. A positive body image is accepting your body, focusing on physical assets rather than imperfections, and respecting and advocating that all body shapes and sizes are beautiful. Negative body image, feeling unsatisfied with your body, feeling negative emotions toward your physical self, such as shame, anger, guilt, sadness. These negative thoughts can affect your relationship with food and exercise. They can also prevent people from engaging in exercise or certain activities that make them feel more insecure or self-conscious. Just quickly, some childhood body image statistics. It's 53% of 13-year-old American girls are unhappy with their bodies. By middle school, 40 to 70% of girls reported dissatisfaction with their body. 75% of people who identify as LGBTQ+ claim to be highly concerned about body image related issues. And boys are not immune to body image concerns. However, it does impact girls more. But during adolescence, late maturing boys are more prone to develop negative body image. So what influences body image in general? Societal and cultural norms, social media. There's several studies indicating that more social media time creates more body dissatisfaction. Family relationships, specifically direct or indirect statements about physical appearance. So direct meaning, talking about diet or physical appearance with your child. Indirect would be you talking about your own body or diet, maybe in front of your child or close nearby and they can hear it. Peer appearance-focused peers heavily influence a child's body image and physical changes during adolescence. So here's the body image flow chart. So there's society beauty ideals and channels where these messages get passed on to the individual, and we internalize these messages. And internalization is the degree to which someone adopts the socio-cultural body ideas as their own. And there's a study that shows that girls who internalize these messages have a higher body dissatisfaction than what their actual body weight is. And girls who more strongly view their, I'm sorry, girls who strongly related, girls with low self-esteem are strongly related to view their body as worse than it is than what their actual BMI is. So body dissatisfaction is very much involved with how you think about your body. And this negative thinking, the distorted thoughts lead to dieting, disordered eating, and other kinds of eating disorders. So I listed some of the most common eating disorders. There's anorexia, bulimia, and binge eating disorder, and body dysmorphic disorder, which is an extreme concern about perceived flaws in your physical appearance. Okay, so how can parents help their children develop a positive body image? So encourage your teens to respect and listen to their body signals. Team up with your teen's doctor to identify healthy exercise and eating habits. Establish healthy eating habits. Don't make negative or positive comments about your child's weight, body shape, or appearance, and have a zero tolerance for body shaming comments. And it's extremely important for you to be a good body image model. So avoid labeling foods as good or bad. Avoid dieting and don't encourage your children to diet. Work on modeling a healthy acceptance of your own body shape and size. Engage in regular physical activity, but focus on engaging in activity for health, fun, and enjoyment. And encourage your children to be media savvy. So question and challenge Western society's narrow ideas of beauty or attractiveness. And most importantly, get help early. I did mention some of the eating disorders earlier, but if your child is restricting eating, if they're over exercising, if they're losing weight drastically, reach out to your doctor, reach out to a mental health professional sooner, as soon as you start noticing it, even if you just suspect it, rather than later, because some of those eating disorders can become very severe. So it's very important to get additional support and help give your child the tools needed to counter social pressure and feel good about their body. All right, so that is the presentation. Let's see here. Are there any questions or concerns I can address now on self-esteem or body image?
Thank you, Dr. Botella-Paris. If there are any questions, you can type them in the Q&A function of Zoom. Right now, there are no questions.
Okay. We'll give it a minute.
While we wait just a sec to see if anyone has one, maybe you could answer this question. Is there a developmental time in a boy or girl's life where they're may be most at risk for low self-esteem?
Yeah. So students psychologically can start comparing themselves to others as of the age of 5 years old. So self-esteem starts building at a very young age. Once you can start comparing yourself to others, you start questioning your own self-worth. But I would say between 12 to 18 is the most critical period for when we build self-esteem. And that's the time when you really want to start using these tools and having these discussions with your kids.
Thank you. Do not see any questions. The one thing I will plug is the Abington School District website on the Student Services page does have resources and links to all of our staff, including counselors like Dr. Botella-Paris, as well as our school psychologists and other staff. Oh, hold on. May I have a question? Somebody asked, can you please share resources for help with healthy coping?
Sure. So on my Google Classroom, I have a resource guide, and there's 4 different resources I'm sharing with everyone tonight. And if you want to, maybe we can collect emails and I can email them out directly to you. But I have apps, I have books, And there's plenty of stuff in there about coping mechanisms specifically, along with other ways to build self-esteem, positive affirmations, other things we've discussed tonight. So I'll definitely get that to you.
And along with that is another question just about resources for parents that, may want some good talking points on how to approach these subjects with their kids.
Yeah, hold on, I have a book right here. A lot of this presentation came from this workbook. It's called The Ultimate Self-Esteem Workbook for Teens by Megan McCutcheon. And it gives you step-by-step worksheets and a lot of ways to approach self-esteem with your child in a very kid-friendly, teen-friendly specifically manner. So definitely check it out if you want a workbook, just step-by-step instruction on everything we discussed tonight and a lot more.
Great. And just one last question. I think you touched on this, but if you could just state again, do you see more issues with self-esteem with girls than boys?
I think it presents differently, but overall, I think self-esteem is an issue that affects everyone, especially in the adolescence time, period. I have read some studies that very low self-esteem in girls leads more to disordered eating, whereas young men, it can lead more to substance abuse. So either way, it's something you want to address, with boys, girls, non-binary, whatever, child you have at home, discuss self-esteem, how to build it and how to think, your thinking patterns and identify any negative thinking and really try to work on it and stop it.
Great. Thank you so much. That was our last question.
I did get a message from a parent while I was on. She had to leave the presentation early, so I knew we recorded it. Are we going to be able to post it somewhere so that it can be accessed by the parents that had to leave and anybody that might have missed it?
I'm not sure where we'll post it, but if anyone would like to see it, definitely contact our department, the Student Services Department.
Okay.
And I'll definitely work on the answer to that question.
Thanks, Rob.
We are recording it, so I'm going to guess the answer is yes.
Right. Thanks.
Sure. Okay. So yes, we have a Google site on our Student Services page, and I'm being told yes, we will be able to post it. So thank you again to everybody for coming. And I don't know the next date. Nicole, do you know the next date?
I don't have my information with me.
Okay.
I don't. I'll post
Not
that,
a problem. It'll be posted.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right. Good night, everybody. Thanks,
Night.
Dr. Patel-Paris.